But by the end of the day, what we as engineers build is software, and the software is there for the end user, and the end user is trying to get something done. It can be a
Yeah.
commercial product like an Uber app, or it can be a business app such as payrolling or accounting or CRM, whatever. Software is everywhere. Everybody knows everybody is dependent on software. So that's what we do. We build software, we build capabilities in software. And so what I would say what is the next level of DevOps is basically thinking about how can we get these features, the new capabilities as quickly and easily to our end users as possible. So this is where feature management, or what we call feature ops, comes into play.
Hi, welcome to Software Engineering Tales. I'm really glad that we could make it today. And as a first thing, if you could introduce yourself to our audience.
Of course. So I'm Egil Østhus, based out of Norway. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Unleash. So what we do, we build open source feature management platforms for developers. We are HQ'd out of Norway, but we have a global presence. Our core presence is in Europe and US as of now, but we also have customers in Asia.
Yeah, that's cool. And I I obviously looked into your company a little bit upfront, so I know that I don't know if I describe it correctly, but the core of the product is to do with like a feature rollout, if that's correct.
Correct. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
core of what we do, if you look at them sort of an modern way of delivering software, you have the DevOps practices, you have the agile practices, and you have the DevOps pipeline, right? You basically wanna get your software into production as quickly, easy, and without too much fuss as possible. And that's where I think the market and the industry has spent a lot of time with the DevOps. So DevOps is all about, can I automate this process? Can I do automated testing? Can I do automated deployments? Can I do everything automated on the pipeline part? Which is great. I would say if you want to take this to the next step, and why is there a need to take this to the next step? I would say DevOps is a lot about internal processes and for engineers to work efficiently at a high
Yeah.
quality as possible. But by the end of the day, what we as engineers build is software, and the software is there for the end user, and the end user is trying to get something done. It can be a
Yeah.
commercial product like an Uber app, or it can be a business app such as payrolling or accounting or CRM, whatever. Software is everywhere. Everybody knows everybody is dependent on software. So that's what we do. We build software, we build capabilities in software. And so what I would say what is the next level of DevOps is basically thinking about how can we get these features, the new capabilities as quickly and easily to our end users as possible. So this is where feature management, or what we call feature ops, comes into play. So think of this as you are a developer, you are doing a thing, I think we can all relate to the fact uh, building software is difficult because it's
Yeah.
very abstract. It's really a lot of dependencies. There is a lot of data that comes into play. So, did you test all of the corner cases? And I think we can all relate to when you get into production, there is when the truth is that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Does it work or not? So what we are saying by using feature management or feature ops, that's where you can do this release of the feature in a very smart way. So one typical use case is, okay, I'm building this new feature. It's not ready, so I cannot put it to my end users, but I want to test it in a production environment to see if it sort of works. So I can put it behind that feature flag, I can deploy it to production, but do not enable it to the end users.
Yeah.
But I can test it myself. So I can go to my production environment. I can play around with the new capability. Does it work? Yes, it looks good. Okay, let's continue building. And so the next phase would be maybe test it and enable it for your team, maybe for your entire company. So everybody in your company can log into the application, play around with it, and start seeing is there issues. I'm not advocating that you should not do testing, but I'm advocating that you can do more specific testing and you can actually get quicker feedback from the real use of the application, let's say. And from there you can start applying your new capabilities to your, maybe there's a small cohort of early adapters, maybe it's a VIP type of customers, or some teams that you are very close to, so you can put it in the hands of them. And that allows them to sort of start playing with it, start to use it in their daily life. You can start getting the feedback, yeah, this doesn't really work, or it sort of works, but you don't, it's really sluggish, or maybe, I don't know, and I know that there are
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
new learnings that comes into the conversation when you have the new real users playing with your software. So I think that's basically the essence. So how we phrase it is sort of, we are decoupling release to production to release to customers.
so basically it's like a user based rollout of the
User
feature, but
based,
yeah,
but can be more sophisticated, obviously. But yes, that's a way to
yeah,
phrase it. You can make it very random. You can make it very specific for individual users, group of users, cohort of users, based on typical regions of the world, parts of your city. We have customers in New York that want to deploy it very specific to very specific parts of the city.
yeah,
But also the other side of things. I mean, if the other side of the DevOps is sort of, it's an all or nothing type of deployment. Even if you break it down into microservices, it's pretty much an all or nothing type of release. So it's when you have, like, a couple of weeks back, we had the Google outage. I think most of us were
yeah,
exposed to that one way or the other, at least heard of it. Um, and the fact was, it was a minor mistake, and the minor mistake leads into a really dramatic situation. So if you look at their retrospective, what they're saying, basically, we need to have everything behind the feature flag, because if that it hits the fan, it's a very quick time rollback for you to saying disable this
yeah,
feature and not the entire deployment. And that gives you a way different level of flexibility on how you operate your software practices.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. So what is like your typical customer? I guess it's like bigger
Yeah.
software and something on scale, right?
Yeah. So I
Because
would
it doesn't
say,
make
I would say feature management. It fits to anyone that is building software, right? So what we are seeing, Unleash is really the best for the large enterprises, meaning complex organization, really big companies. So some of our key differentiators compared to some of the others in the space, we are built privacy first. So BII is not going anywhere. We can go
yeah,
deeper on why and how we have built that. But also super flexible. We are open source, which means it's super flexible. We can adapt to anything. We can basically build to your needs. And when you start looking at those large organizations, super enterprises of the world, they have a ton of legacy debt. They have a ton of technical debt. They have a ton of, it's really complicated, let's say, right? It's really complicated.
yeah.
And
Layer on layer and layer.
exactly, layer by layer by layer. So really, what we are looking for is, we can adapt, we can adjust, we can sort of pivot into whatever are their needs, um, and um, and that is really a key differentiator for us in the larger organization. You don't need to adapt to, this is the way we need you to work, but we are saying, okay, there's so many opportunities for you to configure, to adapt, unleash into your environment, and that just makes a ton of difference for these companies.
Let's take a step back
Sorry.
and let's get to the very beginning of your own, journey in software. How did you get into like building software and
How did
how did you
I?
start it?
I guess my story is a typical of every software developer. I mean, small kid, age 10, 11, started to hack computers, super interested. Well, how does this work? So this is
Yeah,
back in the early 90s. So I got my first Commodore 64. Younger kids on this podcast doesn't know what that is. It's a very old computer where you can play games, allowed you to do some software development as well. So I started there, moved on to the x86 processor and those type of machines, starting to use Java, .NET primarily, and went to college, did my computer science degree, went into corporate, did my couple of years in software development, and I would say I was very fortunate to work with really, really talented engineers, which is also an eye opener because I realized, okay, I'm not that good.
Yeah,
I'm pretty mediocre
I
to be frank.
yeah, I always try to tell that if you feel like you are the best in the room, you are in the wrong room, you
That
know.
is that's so true. But what I did realize is, okay, I'm not really, really the best walking this earth on writing software, but I'm pretty good at getting a team organized, getting people organized, understanding how to kind of interact with the business, with the customers, and all of this. So I started to move into architecture, and then moved into more kind of project management, and eventually business management. So I would
Yeah,
say the past 10 years I've been in business management position, product leadership position, but always in a tech organization, always very close to software. So I identify myself as a developer, but in my company, I'm not allowed to touch any source code anymore. So
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm really passionate about
definitely.
how you should build software and how I think software should be built, and how it's great software being built.
Yeah. So so if I take you on this, how is great software being built, and what are like the bad patterns
Yeah.
that you see around, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there are so many, and it's very based on context. So there is not like this is the way, right? But there are some patterns and
Yeah, definitely.
anti-patterns, right? I would say delaying release is an anti-pattern, meaning I need to make it complete, or it's not good enough. It's not complete enough. It's sort of an anti-pattern. So I think that is sort of having incremental releases is a very important way. And I see also usually you spend less time building new capability if you are able to get it out quicker and get feedback and quicker adapt to what is really needed. So that is one thing. The other thing is I think software and developers, I know we tend to be a bit introvert. Maybe we want to kind of stick behind our screen and do our thing,
Yeah,
but really getting out there and listening to end users and take part of the conversation is really valuable. So one of the things I'm always advocating for is saying the software developers need to understand what are we trying to help our customers do. They need to hear it directly from the customers. They don't need to be the sales guy. They don't need to be the marketing person, but they need to be listening in and take part of that conversation, because I think that is more important than anything, that you understand where is my software being used and why, because it makes it so much easier for you to say, okay, this something like, take a very simple example of technical debt. Sometimes technical debt is super important to handle. Sometimes it's okay not to address it because of, again, if it's source code that is rarely used, it needs to be there, but it's almost never touched. Maybe it's okay that it's not the best clean code that
yeah,
you have in your code base, but it's somewhere, if it's really, really core of the application, core of what we're trying to help our customers to do, probably invest more in making really, really clean code and make that code super easy to navigate for yourself and for your team, because you will probably revisit that part of the code so much, so frequent.
yeah. And is there something from like your, you know, processes in your company from like a developer point of view
And,
that you would like to like highlight, or you know, like show off,
and,
like, okay, for example, I don't know, like, yeah, we pair program everything
and
because we believe that it's the way, something like that, something
Well,
specific.
I can say there is, we have been spending quite a bit of time thinking of how do we build software, how do we think software should be built, and there, I think the go-to process that we is our everybody adapts the process. You need to adapt the process. So don't take a playbook for this is the
Yeah,
only way.
definitely.
But the go-to process for us is often referred to as a double diamond. So the double diamond, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's sort of a very structured
Mm,
process of how you want to drive innovation. So basically, what it tells is there is two parts. That's the two diamonds. To the one diamond. The first diamond is it's all about exploring the needs. The okay, we have a problem, a pain, something to build, and it's sort of an it's it's an this it goes, you have open questions, you are looking to understand what is the business need, what is the individual need, what is the problem we are solving, what is the pain, what is the possible solutions to this problem. And then you close the loop saying, okay, let's focus in on one solution. So that's, and all of this is very kind of manual. We don't really write too much code at this point. It's a Figma. It's a lot of exploration, customer interviews. You do some observations maybe, and so forth. And then you close the loop and sort of saying, okay, this is a proposed solution to this problem. And when that is sort of agreed to together with the customer, we go into sort of the first, we call it iteration of a feature. We never call it a feature, but an iteration of feature,
Yeah.
which means, okay, let's implement in code and put it into the product and then seek feedback. So our
Yeah.
release cycle is really much saying we are now in beta and we are now seeking feedback from customers. And based on that feedback loop, we are making a decision. Do we need to invest more and pay more attention here? Or do we want to say, okay, let's close it up, say this is it, this is good enough, and move on to the next thing? So you can go, there is a lot of information around the double diamonds. I think it's really good because it starts with an explore phase, very strategic in the sense, focus on what are we trying to build, not focus on
Yeah.
the feature per se. And then it's just sort of the agile thing, or kind of build the software in itself and get it into a product on the second time at the end there. And of
Yeah. I
course,
will.
all of
I
that
will.
is an iterations.
Yeah, but I will look into that because I really like the sound of that.
Eh,
Basically, really have a clear view of what we need to build, and then build like an MVP or like the basic thing that should satisfy that, and then iterate
eh.
on that, and have this quick feedback. That sounds really really good. So one of the very recent topics, AI,
AI.
like
Everybody's
coding,
thinking
these
about AI.
things. So what about you and your company? How are you adopting AI?
We are spending a ton of time understanding AI, I would say. I need to be frank. I think
Yeah,
there is a lot of fuss in AI. I think it
definitely.
feels like AI is going to change everything, but we don't really understand exactly how and what yet. So what we are looking at AI in every part of our company. We are utilizing that in marketing, in sales, in customer success, in operations and finance, but also in development. We have been spending time in testing vibe coding, which is sort of great because it looks really, you can get a lot of stuff done very quickly.
Yeah,
I think that what we are seeing, or where our head is, we are moving more and more towards an agentic software development process. So what we are looking at is sort of where can we utilize very, very specialized, focused AI agents next to the human being, next to the developer, through the software development lifecycle. So in the earlier phase, in the double diamond phase, how can we leverage AI to sort of gather customer feedback to kind of maybe do some sentiment on our customer feedback cycles, to sort of speed up that process of breaking requirements into kind of this is an assumption of an feature. We also are looking at, can we break that assumption into like user stories that we can put into a backlog and start having support for project management to do that prioritization next
yeah,
to the product manager. I know that the developers in our team is testing Cursor and other kind of development support as well. I think for some tasks it looks to be really, really promising, and some tasks it's sort of okay, not yet there.
yeah,
And of course, on anything compliance, QA can speed up a ton of things. And I think the beauty is that with the emerge of MCP and A2A protocols, you basically start moving away from the nitty-gritty details of the API and the data silo problems that we have seen in the past, right?
yeah,
So what we are seeing is that agentic software development is really there, and it will increase every step of your software development process. So you will get more done quicker. But also it needs to, and I think this is where Unleash and feature management fits very well into the picture, is you also need to make sure you have let's say, the insurance policy. You need to have a way to release
yeah,
the software in a very let's say, in a very controlled way. So you can basically allow all of this rapid changes coming to the end users and sort of being on runtime control, enabling and disabling. If there's anything that breaks, you don't want to take it away. If there is something that makes challenges for the end users, you can disable it for improving the UI parts. Um, so I'm curious to understand what you're seeing and what you're hearing from other guests and in the industry, because AI is on everybody's mind. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the main concerns is still the security,
Yeah.
you know, and basically, I think the best approach, or maybe the agreement on the best approach I have from people I discussed this with, was to treat AI as external contributor
Mm,
in anything you do. So basically, all code prepared by AI needs to be like reviewed
mm,
and um, greenlighted and so on. And but as you mentioned, it's more than just coding. it's
mm,
it's starting to affect every bit of the software development cycle. And I'm really curious. Actually, in couple of weeks I should be talking with Scott Warho.
mm,
I think you mentioned
mm,
you saw some early episode, and they have been doing a lot of work around, like, product
mm,
development and AI, and how to choose the right tooling and,
mm,
and so on, and how to go around all this buzz. So yeah, I'm just curious. But every time I see like people without any technical background very excited about, okay, now I can wipe code any product and quickly try it with some customers and so on. I'm asking, like, okay, but what about security
mm.
and these things? And it can go very, very wrong. So yeah,
Yeah, and
let's see.
security is one thing. We haven't seen the big security incident yet on those AI produced software, so that will eventually get there. But no, it's amazing what you can do, and I think it's a fundamental shift in the industry. So I think we just need to embrace it. We need to understand it, and we need to kind of
Yeah,
see where it fits and utilize where it makes sense, and also be careful to not say this is the holy grail, because I think any engineer is experienced and smart enough to see, well, if it's fantastic, it's probably there are some downsides that hasn't been explored properly. So let's make sure that we understand the both side, the good side and the negative side.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. What would you say that is today the biggest challenge, like, in software development in general? Is it the AI and adoption of AI, or is it something else?
Hey, it's a good question. I would the first thing that comes to mind is probably, if you look at it from a business point of view, it's probably speed. Because there, with the capabilities of AI, you can have a new company coming into your category or into your market like super fast, and they can move so much quicker than you, and that is a real challenge. And of course, with larger organization, tons of people, um, the ability to change quick enough is a real challenge. So one of the
Yeah,
things we have to discussing a lot in my team is, so I think of it as Google. They made information available to everybody, so everybody could find most information available. So online, that was sort of the big shift that was coming back with Google and the big thing. Now we are getting to the next level where all of the information is not only available to you, but you can also start having reason on top of that. So you can
yeah,
create reports, you can sort of do research. I'm using deep research a ton, to be frank. The problem I'm seeing is basically how quickly can the human mind adapt and absorb all of this information, right? So think that you have a team of, I don't know, hundreds of people that every day there is something new. Every day there is something that is improved, and the level of research that can be made available to organization is just overwhelming. So how do you create a company, a team, an organization that is capable of acting and responding quick enough to that?
yeah,
That is one part. So speed is one on top of my mind. The other part is obviously, if you look at the environmental impact of AI, is another concern we should think about. So energy is
Yeah.
is real. I think that DeepSeek made us everybody aware that well improvements are coming. So hopefully, the efficiency of those algorithms and the energy need is also going to be improved dramatically over the next couple of months and years to come. But as it is today, it is a concern. The level of energy required to do
Yeah.
all of that AI stuff that is happening there is it's a real issue, I guess, for all of us.
Yeah, that's angle that I didn't really, think about, but you are 100% correct. Yeah. Okay, one question that I ask every guest on this podcast. Tell me about one time that you really messed up and what you learned from that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if there's only one thing in one part. Building a company is a
Pro-
serious of
Probably
mistakes.
multiple. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, maybe first thing that comes to mind. So this is back when we built a company. We started a year to kind of talk to prospect customers, understanding is there a market, is there a business to be made. Um, and after a year, we had signed maybe 30 customers or so. So we had not a lot of revenue. We had revenue, we had customers, and it moved from, and this
Yeah.
is when we did it as a side gig. So we were in corporate jobs and doing this as a side gig. And it came to this point where we're saying, okay, it's getting too serious. We are having real companies using our software and we are pretending to be a real company. We really need to be a real company pretty soon. In order to be a real company, you need capital to kind of, you need to have salaries, you need to, you know, this sort of the basic stuff. So the natural thing was, of course, to go and raise money. I never raised money before. So we were fortunate to have a lot of investor conversations. So we were in front of a lot of investors, but they never led anywhere. We didn't understand anything because we were having a conversation. It's a great conversation, but it was not an investment decision made. So we kept on, and we were fortunate enough to have get in contact with an advisor. So that was a person coming from venture capital in the past, now working at a software company, wanted to kind of engage and do some small ticket investment. So the what we asked him was basically, can he just teach us how to do this because we don't know this. So,
Yeah.
I would say the big mess up was sort of we didn't prepare well enough when we started these conversations, and we didn't seek advice early enough. So we spent probably 6 months or so just coming nowhere. And the fact was, after we had this sort of sit down with this individual, 3 weeks later, we had 2 term sheets available, and we raised money just like easy as that. And I wouldn't say it's a big mess up, but it was definitely a kind of reminder that you are doing a ton of stuff when you're building a company. You're not expert in probably none of them, and seeking advices and really be open to take advice is the biggest mistake you can do if you don't do that. And if we didn't have taken that advice, we would probably never have had this company now.
Yeah. I think this leads to my next question, basically. Let's imagine, as you described it, I'm a developer working for corporate,
Mm,
and I have this great idea,
mm,
which I think can be turned into something.
mm,
How should I go about it today? How should I start,
mm.
making this real?
What is the step? So based on my experience, and this is my experience, so everybody needs to build their own experience and decide what is
Yeah,
best for them, obviously. But I think that I was fortunate. I have a co-founder, so that's a very technical person and the creator of Unleash. So that's great. I was very interested in understanding the dynamics of anything sales and marketing. So between the two of us, he was not super key, like super engaged in sales. That was sort of, we both agreed that sales is important, but he was more saying, okay, I'm a true developer. He is a true developer. But I would say building great software is difficult, but building great software that somebody want to pay for is a different cup of tea.
yeah,
And I think one of the biggest mistakes I'm seeing when I'm getting approached by kind of like engineers want to build something and want to build a great company, they one of the topics that I see repeated again and again is very focused on look at this great product, look at this great capability, look at this great whatever. true, it is fantastic. But you forget to talk to me about what is my reason to buy this and how does this, why should I pay attention to this? Other than
Yeah,
being interested in what you're building because I'm interested in what is happening. So um, I think one of the biggest problems I'm seeing, you build something, either you build something and then you try to find a problem to solve, or you build something for a problem that is not repeatable, meaning that it's not the same problem for many people. So
yeah,
I think you need to be very harsh about yourself, saying, okay, this is, you probably start build something because you have a need or you wish. So ask yourself who are the others that has the same problem,
yeah,
and how do I find them? How can I, if I don't know anything, how can I understand where do these people work? Where do they live? And that's a business to, if it's a B2B kind of business to business application. If it's a B2C, I never built a B2C, so I don't know that. But you need to have, I can imagine it's a similar thing. There needs to be a need that somebody's willing to pay attention to and spend time on and put money behind. And if you're not to
yeah,
understand that, you are not going to build a company because it's going to be a great software. I have no doubt in that. But great software doesn't really pay your bill.
yeah, definitely.
And
I actually had a guest recently here, and he tried to build a startup, but they failed because when they asked and like pitched their product, everyone was like, "Yeah, interesting," but the interest was not real.
yeah, and that's I
So
see the same.
that's the thing,
I see
right?
the same.
Yeah,
Because we are, I mean, I guess most of us and all are, we are, nice people. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to tell you that I don't care. Uh, so I will say, yeah, it's interesting. And then I will go on to my next thing. I don't care about it because I don't really have. So I think the best salespeople are asking a lot of questions. So
yeah,
why do you pay attention to this? Why do you take this meeting? What are you trying to achieve here? Why do you care? Like, why should you spend your time talking to me? And that feels really pushing away. But then again, that eventually are stating that I need to understand what you're trying to get done. Otherwise, I cannot help you. And if I cannot help you in something that is important to you, you are not going to spend the dollars with me, right?
yeah, definitely. Okay, let's wrap up. What should be the one thing that I take with me home from today's chat? The one single most important thing.
Software should be built in small iteration, and you need to put it in production as soon as possible. So that's my go-to thing in anything software. Don't try to make
Cool.
it complete. Build in small pieces.
That's a great ending, and thank you for coming to Software Engineering Tales, and see you around.
And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be on your show.